Hey everybody, it's your Aunt Jessica, and yes, I've been gone for a minute, and I will explain myself on that one, and I'm going to do it in a video after this one, but this video just came out. It was a podcast that I did about a year ago, and I was super excited when I did it, and I'm super excited right now, but a dear friend of mine, Kortney Olson, has a podcast called Quadcast. She's amazing. She's recovering, and she leads the life now of a bodybuilder, a fitness model. She does so many things right now that, I'm just overwhelmed that she considers me a friend. And she is, of course, an advocate for women's only spaces. And that's why she brought me on her podcast to talk about it. She travels the world helping other women stay motivated and defeat their past, so to speak. So she's a great motivational speaker. She does a lot of motivational videos and just to show women what you're capable of. She is a like professional bodybuilder. She has more muscles in her legs than I have in my entire body. It is amazing. That's why she's well known for her quads, and that's what the quadcast is about. And I urge you guys to check out her channel as well. I'll put a link to it in the bottom of this video. And if you don't mind, give a listen. It's about an hour-long video. I can't publish it for copyright reasons without me constantly in it. So I'm not being narcissistic, you guys, I promise. I just have to be on the video and at some point. Otherwise, YouTube could strike it for a copyright. And Kortney doesn't mind, so I'm just going to maybe comment in on a few things that have changed since this video was recorded. Like I said, it was over a year ago, so you'll notice the hair is different. I've had my facial surgery since then. So let's check it out.
Welcome to Quadcast with Kortney Olson.
Got it. What's up, y'all? We're back with another episode of Quadcast. We have Jessica Gill in with us. We've got Jessica in, and Redbeard is joining us today as well. And I got 2 nights of sleep, 5.5 hours back to back. So this will be a way more interesting, productive podcast than previous times. So Jessica, tell us about your bio. This is your opportunity to brag. We want you to shine. Tell us.
Brag. Oh my gosh. So how would I start? No, I guess, well, as a trans person, only transitioned 8 years ago. So, but as I was growing up, even through high school, I always knew I wanted to be a woman, but I knew I wasn't. And then society, just going through high school, I just fell in line with the societal norms of, the nuclear family of a white picket fence, 2 kids, 1.3 dogs, 2 cars,
What's the 0.3? Do you have a chihuahua?
Yeah, just the averages, the law of averages they go off of, right? And, but so, even growing up, I always competed. I started riding dirt bikes at a young age, and actually, going through high school, just racing, always sitting in the back of my truck watching the races between between motos. And it was always a dream of mine. Like, what if I was a girl, and what if I was racing these guys? How fun would that be? Like, how pissed would they be? Because I could beat most of them as I was. But I was like, if a girl was doing this would be so much cooler, right? So that was always a dream of mine. And then, but I got stuck with, the nuclear family, like I said, and just my life went that direction. And so I suppressed the gender dysphoria for the longest time. But I always knew, in the back of my head, and I was an angry boy growing up, like just always not mean to people, but it was just angry at life. And I never figured it out why. It was because I was probably not the way I wanted to be.
How old were you when you started to kind of piece shit together, would you say?
I mean, as early as 19 years old, I was, always interested at that point. But I mean, as I knew, even my mom recognizes it back when I was about 7 years old. I hate seeing that because I'm a strong advocate for not transitioning kids. But there is a fine line there. And, we can go on to several subjects. I'm kind of getting off topic. But as far as back to me, it's just a matter of, growing up, I saw things differently, and I wanted to be a different way. And I wasn't, and I was upset about that. And then once I hit my 30s, I really took on, the identity that I wanted to, and then realized this is the path I want to go down. But I kept into my sports. I actually didn't turn pro until I was like 32 years old before I started racing pro for money, whereas before in the amateur ranks, it's just for trophies.
Right.
But then once I turned pro, in my 30s, everybody's like, you're so old. But I would compete against the 25-year-old pro class and do pretty well. It was top 5, But in my class, I was top 3 in the state.
And it brought?
On the dirt bikes.
Okay. Oh, yeah. So dirt bikes, not
now. I do road racing.
Okay.
So dirt bikes lasted until I was 40. I had a major crash out here at Mesquite, Nevada. I spent 2 weeks at UMC in the trauma center, recovering from a collapsed lung, 4 broken ribs, a punctured lung, broken collarbone.
Jeez, so that's where all the metal comes from?
Yeah, I have metal plates everywhere. holding my shoulders together, just like, so at that point I said, I'm retiring. And I sold my, $12,000 dirt bike and bought a $7,000 mountain bike. And everybody's like, you bought that for that and you have to pedal? Like, what's wrong with you? I'm like, well, I gotta stay in shape. Like, it's my gym. Like, I don't do gym memberships. Like, I just don't. And so yeah, I did that. And then I've always been on two wheels. So, I've always rode street bikes, but now I'm into the street bike racing scene, which I've posted a lot on my Instagram lately. And, still now I'm able to compete with the boys, which is very important that people see that I'm in the male division. Now there's a female road racing motorcycle course and class. Nicole, and there's a few other girls out there that they all love me, and they're like, you could race with us. We're totally fine with it. I'm like, no. And Nicole is hands down faster than me. Like, she would beat me, but I don't tell anybody that. I'm telling everybody now. But she's faster than me. Like, she just is. Like, she just has it. She's one of the few, not that other women aren't faster than me, but she's my friend and I know she's faster. I've passed her and she's passed me mostly, but her lap times are faster than mine. So, but I wouldn't ever compete in her class. Like, they ask me to all the time, and her division is called HER for her.
Oh, wow.
Our division is called like MRA,
Yeah.
And the Male Racing Association and the her is her division. So, but yeah, I maintain that, I am a biological boy. I'll never change that. I wish I could. There's no doubt I wished I could be different. Yeah. Natural.
We're so grateful you're having this conversation with us because, like, we've had Janae on the podcast, and this was back in like April, I think. She was one of my first episodes, and I went down the Twitter rabbit hole, as Redbeard could attest to, and that's, I think, when I came across your content as well. And I spent probably, I don't know, I was on there for hours a day for a period of time, and I got so sucked up in the vortex.
It sucks your life.
Yeah, it can be super interesting. And so I started to get really frustrated about and I don't even know how to describe it. And you see shit through one lens, and I woke up one day and I'm like, fuck, I need help. Let me call Janae and get a different perspective, because she's really only my trans friend, like trans person I know in my life.
Well, now I have two.
Yeah, now I have two. That's exactly right. I love that. So she came out and, we talked, and she gave some different perspectives, but of course, has a different experience, and yet just the sweetest fucking person, much like you, like, just so kind and considerate and just lovely. And, so it was hard to argue. And of course I was so like, oh, wow, I didn't think about that. So the interview itself was kind of shit, because I wasn't thinking of like, counter questions to ask, or, well, this is what I was, this is what I have read or experienced. What would you say to this? Like, I just more or less sat here and listened. So
you winged it. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's really good to have, again, it's about talking to people with lived experience. Like, me trying to expect somebody who's not an alcoholic to understand what it's like to be an alcoholic is impossible. Right. Yeah. So to understand like what you've experienced and what you're going through and what your point of view is completely unattainable as somebody who's in my position. So it's good to hear straight from you. And social media is so limited in terms of, what we can talk about, because you get a fucking little sound clip, right? Yeah, well, that too. But, you don't get a whole perspective from somebody's experience. It's just little sound bites or whatever. So walk us through like what it was like in high school when you say you were angry, and like, did you just feel like something was fucking wrong, or you just weren't comfortable, or you were always drawn to
being wanting to be a woman? Well, and I want to touch on your point about lived experience, but we'll get to that later. Okay. So earmark that. Lived experience, earmark that one. So, but yeah, growing up, I would say it just seemed, like I said, I wasn't overly mean to people until I got into my 20s. I would say in high school, I would do high school over again. I remember going through high school saying, I want out of here. The minute I graduated, I was like, let me back in, pound on the head. I don't like this job. This is crazy. I got to work for a living. I got bills. Like, what is this? Like, I want to go back to being with my friends every day. Taco Bell for a buck at lunch. Yeah. I miss those days. And you don't realize when you step into the real world from high school, a lot of people in the younger category don't realize that when you start a job, you don't see friends every day. You don't talk to people. You just work. Yeah. You're talking to customers or whatever job you may acquire, but it's not the same.
Yeah. Surprise, bitch.
Yeah. Hanging out with your pals. But so, yeah, I mean, in high school, like it was always in the back of my mind, and that I wanted to be a different person. But like I said, I was just kind to people. as my friends or even people I didn't know. But at the end of the day, I would go home and I was just like, it sucks. Like, what is wrong? Like, life sucks. Like, I just couldn't figure it out. I was not, I don't want to say depressed, but just, like I was short with people. They would call me at home on the phone, like, what do you want? Like, what? They're like, hey, you want to go here? I'm like, I don't know. Like, just didn't want to do anything. I was just angry.
Yeah.
Like, I would come home, just like those country music songs where kick the dog, beat the, that whole thing. Like, I would come home and feel it. I never acted on it. Please don't think that.
Girl,
yeah.
the shit I've done when I was drinking when we were together, and I don't even know how many of our listeners would know that. But yeah, this is Redbeard from Crushing It, Chapter 6. But yeah, we have seen some shit. I'd come home and beat the. I'm gonna say that out loud. I'd swat the dog a few times though. I was an absolute cunt.
Yeah.
So don't worry about it.
Yeah,
You're amongst good company.
The weirdest thing is, like, I didn't realize how I was acting until my late 30s, and then I look back now and I'm like, geez, I was an asshole. I was a bitch and jerk. You name it, I was that.
Yeah.
I look back at how I treated my ex-wife. I was never mean to her physically, but I would play mental games with her sometimes, and just. There's abuse. Women go through abuse all the time. I know this because I grew up with my mom. She was a victims advocate for the Westminster Police Department. So I saw her work come home with her every day. And I saw what male domination does to females, like how abused and battered women are treated and how they can't break the cycle. So I lived through that through my mom's eyes too.
Right.
So then I was able to step back and realize, okay, I wasn't physically mean to my ex, but I was not nice to her mentally. We had I was married for 12 years.
Oh wow.
So
do you have kids?
Yeah, I have one daughter. She's 21.
Oh wow.
Same birth month as me. So
does she like leggings?
Yes.
We got hella leggings for her.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, she loves leggings. Yeah, probably Lululemon. It's funny. I would take her for birthday or Christmas. I didn't know. I would never know what to get a teenage daughter, right? Yeah. So I was just like, we'll just take you on a shopping spree. Like, I give you X amount of dollars. And I was like, you want to go to Target, Kohl's, whatever? And she's like, nope, Macy's, JCPenney. I'm like, you realize you could have twice the amount of clothes for this amount of money, and you go here, you're getting 3 items. That's it. Like, that's all I can afford. But she would choose the 3 items over the 10 items she could have had because the 3 items had the brand name on it, Lululemon, whatnot, right? We can say that. No brand folks are props. So, but yeah, just going back to that, just didn't realize how mean I was until after. Yeah. Until I changed. The drugs that I take they're powerful in a way that gets misconstrued a lot. Like, at my age, taking the drugs is more of a health risk than anything. It's more of a health risk to me as a person than it is a benefit as to changing my identity to a woman.
So the health risks are more for you now than it is
for a younger person to take them.
Right.
Because. Okay, so I'm going to interrupt on that one right there. And I want to clarify something that I said. This was a year and a half ago when I recorded this. So I want to kind of retract that statement and change it to, there are different health risks associated with transitioning at different ages in your life. So what that equals, in my unprofessional opinion, but my lived experience, which yes is anecdotal, but nonetheless it is a lived experience. So I run the risk of blood clots, an advanced increased risk of cancer, and osteoporosis, because the male body was not designed to have estrogen coursing through at a high rate that of a female body. And bodies were not meant to be altered this way. And it seems weird that I would take these drugs knowing that, osteoporosis, it's that thing where you see old ladies and they're kind of permanently hunched over. That's where your bones start to decay. And women know about this. I don't have to explain that to you guys. Yeah, so that's the risk that I assume taking these drugs. Now, as a young adult, I would say if you started taking estrogen as a boy and you start taking female hormones in your 1920s all the way to your 30s, you're probably pretty good. I mean, you've gone through male puberty, so your body has built its strength up, and you've got a strong immune system, you got muscle structure, you got your bones fully grown and developed, you've got your bone density with you, and so you've got like a window. It's like a pro athlete almost. I feel like you've got that window from your 19 till about 32, 36, and then I would say taper off. An endocrinologist would know this, but I think the problem with today's medical industry is that endos are more influenced by the almighty dollar to keep their patients regular on their estrogen. And plus, there's a lot of pushback from patients. I remember getting really angry with my endo when I was first starting my estrogen, that I was like, I want more, thinking I had this dumb idea in my head, if I just jack my estrogen through the roof and go low T, that my body's just going to be like, pew, and then reality sets in. You're like, oh, this didn't do anything. For me, especially because of my diet. So here I go off on one of my trails. But as a youngster, you can take cross-sex hormones without a lot of repercussions. So what I was getting at is that if we start the testosterone suppression and the estrogen increase too early, don't even get me started on puberty blockers. Puberty blockers should be banned from the world. Nobody should take puberty blockers unless it's absolutely necessary because a woman or a boy is starting puberty at like 6 or 7 or something like crazy, and they just need to hold that off for just a little bit till the body's ready to go through puberty. So there's those stages, Tanner stages they call them. But anyway, so back to that, if you are an adolescent and you start taking increased estrogen and your body isn't made for that, then you're going to run the risk of a lifetime of medicalization, a lifetime of comorbidities, and a lifetime, in my opinion, of a compromised immune system. And that to me is uber important, especially in today's society with all these kids that have these peanut allergies and lactose intolerant, things like that. Like, that's all due to weak immune systems and underdeveloped bodies. And I can't stress it enough that taking puberty blockers or anything close to that at below 18 years old or even 26 before the body has fully developed is super dangerous for a long, healthy lifestyle. Now, some people may not want to live past 60, 70, 80 years old, but with the advance of modern medicine, we've increased our age, substantially since like the 1950s. People didn't live past 50, 60 years old. And that's just gotten up to, we have people living up to 100 years old now. But maybe everybody doesn't want to live to be 90. I do not want to live to be like 77 years old. Like, no way. I couldn't handle it. So your Aunt Jessica won't be around for that. Sorry. I just wanted to clarify that, you know, there are risks on both sides, regardless of what age you start taking your testosterone suppression or your estrogen. You're going to have health risks, and we need to hold doctors accountable for these health risks and make sure they are informing their patients and not just affirming their patients. That's a big one.
I guess I could change that a little bit, but so now I'm just at increased risk for cancer,
Right.
osteoporosis, because the estrogen levels I'm at are probably higher than yours.
Yeah.
My testosterone levels are lower than yours as a female. It's just amazing that what a lack of testosterone, and this is why I'm not a medical expert, but this is why women do get the hunch. Older ladies, you see them, they're hunched over. That's called osteoporosis. The bones start to deteriorate, the cartilage falls apart. That's happening to me in real time as we speak, because I've increased my levels of estrogen well beyond what a female normally walks around at, and that's detrimental to my health. So me taking the drugs to be this way actually hurts me more than it helps me.
Right.
If I had taken these drugs at 19, it would have helped me first and then cause damage later by giving me fat in all the right places. Fat where women store fat, breasts, buttocks.
So what do you say when people want to argue with you? Because you said you were against transitioning kids, and you said 19, not, for sake of argument, say 18 and below.
Yeah.
But what do you say to that when they say that, give you that argument, like, oh, look, you could have gotten,
I'd be passable.
yourself.
Yeah, this whole thing. And I wish I would have transitioned at 19, but I never say less than that. I just, even at 19, I had an inkling in my head that, I wished I was a girl. I still don't regret to this day growing through puberty as a boy, going through high school as a boy. I had so much fun. I enjoyed life, and would I've loved to have done it as a woman? Sure. But I didn't. I don't regret it. I mean, I do wish now that I had been, I wouldn't have these masculine jawline. I wouldn't have these man hands, my upper shoulders wouldn't be so broad.
I mean, I don't know. I'm kind of a fan. So,
Thank you. So yeah, it just, there would have been benefits at a young age. And right now, testosterone suppression and estrogen increase doesn't do anything for a person of my age. I mean, yeah, it feminizes us a little bit, but not to the point that it would someone below their 20s, so. But again, I hate advertising for that because I don't want anybody, see where I come from, emancipation is 19 and everybody else is like 18.
Right.
But we all know the frontal cortex isn't fully developed until 26, 22, sometimes later. It just depends.
That's like the big argument that I've stayed out of it because it's like, well, and plus I don't know. It's so divisive, and everyone's
Do
so up in arms.
you feel you don't have a right to speak on it? Is the way to stay out
Partially,
of it?
but also, yeah. Not that I don't have a right. More so, just keeping the peace. You know, because our community is so divided
You're
on
nicer
the.
than me. Keeping the peace. What's keeping the peace like? I don't know what that is. I love to cause hate and discontent. That's like my job.
I think part of keeping the peace though is getting points of view from every side, from everybody's, like you said, lived experiences, right? Because
Yeah.
for someone like me growing up, like I have a very hard time relating to any of it, right?
Sure.
I mean, I'm 46, right? So, I mean, even using the term, what is it, cisgender, right? Okay, right? Like, but like for me, it's like this is like all new terminology. I don't know when
Trust me, the people in my life, I've had to sit them down and say, these are no words, these are yes words. You know, these are the words you don't use around me.
And I work at a very progressive bar a couple nights a week, right? So,
fun.
and it is, but I will say, I mean, we have a lot of, trans customers, gay customers, you name it, every non-binary. But I will say one thing I hear the most, is the way you just kind of responded to the word cis, is that's a very common theme I'm seeing now, where a lot of people, at least at the bar that I am in here in Las Vegas, pronouns are a lot less, like for them, it's a lot less important.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds like you work in a less progressive bar.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if that's something you see a lot or not see with your community.
And do you even identify as that as your community?
I don't. I quit a long time ago.
How long ago?
I would say, I've lived in Vegas almost 8 years. So yeah, I would say about 3.5 years ago, I just dropped all contacts with all the LGBT people in Las Vegas that I had. Because I moved here with no friends, no family, didn't know anybody, just made my own way.
And you moved from Colorado?
Colorado.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, I've gotten several arguments with locals here, local trans people, discussing, the kids transitioning thing, the sports thing. And they all had the same boring arguments. It's like, well, they need their mental readiness, and how can we deny them their right to compete as a woman? I'm like, easy. You go by biological sex. It's so simple. Like, that's easy. Like, it's a no-brainer.
Sorry, you're so fucking funny.
So yeah, and I get called every name in the book. About
that's what I don't get. It's the fucking
transphobe.
hate, and how you can only have one point of view. There's no arguing. There's no listening. There's fucking my way or the highway.
Yeah.
And then someone with lived experience has a fucking opinion, and you get canceled. It's like, how the fuck kind of logic is that?
It's crazy.
Like,
right?
you are living the fucking experience, and then you get activists who I don't know what. I mean, I have no fucking clue. It just blows my mind.
Yeah, me too. It drives me crazy to the point where I lose sleep at night sometimes.
Right.
It's like, just angry. I will say, being on the drugs that I take, the estrogen and the spironolactone, which is a testosterone suppressant, it has made me less angry. But it gets really hard to make me mad because I don't have any testosterone in my system, so I don't have that anger, that rage built up in me that I used to have as a kid, which is why when they talk about transitioning kids, that drug that they use to pause puberty is Lupron. And they prescribed that to sex offenders back in the day,
right?
Mental patients, because it would literally take all the drive out of you. It just was a testosterone suppressor. But you can do all the science numbers, and that goes back to that lived experience thing. But testosterone is a major cause for anger. It just causes rage in men, and there's no way around it. And to touch off, I'm going to touch on the point so I don't forget, but the lived experience, that the argument that I get when I'm talking about trans women in sports is that they throw numbers at me all the time. Well, this scientist did this research, and there's this research paper that's been peer reviewed, and and they got all these numbers saying that trans women are equal to women. And I'm saying, my argument is, I get tired of the numbers, right? I've read all the articles, I've read all the graphs, the charts, I've been to women's conferences, and my lived experience seems to fall short on their radar of validity. So they don't think my lived experience as an athlete is valid enough to negate all the science numbers that they read. They're mostly researched by liberal biased colleges and left-leaning colleges.
Yeah, you said the word woke earlier a few times. I was like, so you get it.
Yeah, the woke colleges, they love to skew the numbers. And my point against a lot of these tests that are thrown in my face about lived experiences and numbers, like scientifically it says this person's the same as this woman, and I'm like, no, they're not. I'm proof of that, living proof. And I did a recent test 2 years ago on Strava. You know what Strava is? It's like Facebook for athletes.
Oh, okay,
So
okay.
we record our performances around the city, whether it's mountain biking, running, canoeing, hiking, snowboarding, whatever. And I hate to plug another company, but so there's a section in my neighborhood that's about three-quarters of a mile long stretch of road, and there's a bunch of pro athletes that run that road. And so I checked my time, and the top female athlete, it separates by category. Strava used to just be male and female, but now they've got a non-binary category.
Okay.
So, and we can talk
Oh,
about
yeah.
it too. Emily Bridges, a lot of these male cyclists that are competing in the women's division are on Strava, and it's very frustrating. They're competing on Strava as women as well. So they're taking the QOM, which is Queen of Mountain, and the KOM, King of Mountain. So the QOM on this road by my house, I decided to run it. And at 47 years old when I ran it. And the girl who was QOM was 36, so almost 12 years younger than me, or 11 years younger than me. She ran it. I ran it. I beat her time by almost a full minute.
Wow.
Yeah. And I'm older than her by 11 years.
Yeah, 11 years. Okay.
Age is huge for a deterrent.
Oh,
I've been on
running?
testosterone for over 6 years, suppressed down to 0. And I still am faster than the fastest woman.
And would you say that's biologically because of your height or
I have long legs, which are very feminine. Most, women all the time approach me. I wish I had your legs. You have the most amazing legs, and
I'll be the judge of that.
Yeah. Let me know. So yeah, they'll, I have a body that has a good gait for running, and I hate running, but I do
Same.
it. Yeah, it
Twins.
sucks, but it's good cardio. It's hard on your knees, it's hard on your body. So
yeah,
but yeah, so it's just the other thing that they don't give me validity on when I bring up my lived experience, I'll say, well, what about the fact that this male who now identifies as a woman has been competing at this sport for 10 years, and that requires muscle memory, and they discredit muscle memory. And then I say, okay, well, there's such a thing as a trained muscle. So if I trained one of my muscles, Kortney, you would know from jiu-jitsu, like you train a certain muscle group and it works perfectly without even thinking about it.
Yeah.
It's almost, what's that, secondary, like breathing in your
yeah,
heartbeat,
autonomic or programming or something.
Yeah, it just happens. Your muscles just have that memory. And also they're trained to do a certain thing. So in my sport, of motocross, this is where this pisses me off the most, is I have to be misogynistic to get my point across to these left-leaning trans LGBTQ rights
IA
activists.
plus.
Yeah, the alphabet soup. I have to almost turn myself into a misogynist, and I hate doing that. It drives me crazy. But so today, right now, at 48 years old, I'm almost 49.
Bitch. I
could, if I had the same equipment. One of the fastest girls in the sport right now of motocross is Vicky Golden, or Ashley Filick. I guarantee you, I would need maybe a few days practice, maybe a week, maybe more, but I could throw a leg over a dirt bike right now at 49 and beat the fastest woman in the world on a dirt bike, on a track. I would beat her times because my muscles, my body was trained to race dirt bikes. I've raced dirt bikes all my life. It's like second nature to me. And that's what these trans identifying athletes coming up, they've had that experience for 10, 12 years of racing the same bicycle. They know their legs are built just for it. The muscles have trained that way. And
got the blueprint.
It's no amount of taking away testosterone and adding estrogen is going to change that. It physically won't, but they saw some science research paper that said, oh, this person started taking testosterone suppression 3 years ago, so they're equal to a woman. See, they couldn't run as fast. Well, they weren't running all their life, were they? No, they weren't Michael Phelps in the pool, swimming all his life, like Leah Thomas, swimming all of his life as a boy. Takes a couple drugs for 12 months, and all of a sudden he's supposed to be that next to Riley Gaines? No way.
Muscle memory, that's a really good point. What do you think of that?
No, muscle memory, 100%. And I think, too, when you look at some of those sports, especially lung capacity, swimming, running, I think there's also a biological advantage.
Oh, yeah.
with
I get tired of having to say that argument.
I mean,
my man hands, my man arms, my man bones.
Depending on the sport, certain aspects of the body are going to be an advantage.
Yeah.
Swimming, bigger feet, longer reach, longer arms. I mean, there's definitely going to be
100%. Yeah.
Obviously something like basketball, you're definitely going to have.
Yeah, any physical contact sports are just off the
Right.
off the charts, And there's numbers that even say men will punch almost, I don't know, numbers 120% harder than a woman.
Yeah.
Even at the top level. Even at elite
I think the
level.
number's
There's
160.
other things like endurance running, trail running, like those things women can almost equal a male, but still just a little bit. But the national average is 10 to 12%. Like the girls I race mountain bikes with, and that's another thing, they always want me to race in their race, and I don't, but you know, I'll ride with them for sure. But you know, I always have to remind them it's 10 to 12%, Tracy, and she's like, oh yeah, I got it. You know, so it's because they use me as a gauge. Like we'll go up to Mount Charleston, and they'll say, I stayed with Jessica almost all the way down the mountain. You know, it's like, and so I'm happy to help the girls get faster. You know, that's also been an argument point I've heard from some of the wokies that they're like, well, I'm just helping these women step up their game. No, you're taking their trophies and their prize money. You know,
Is that really an argument?
that
they
is really an argument.
You're shitting me.
No,
I banned myself from Twitter. So.
Yeah, I believe Emily Bridges and a few of the other have said that. Like literally said, me being in their sport only ups their game. They should be thankful.
I believe the cyclist said that. Recently.
Yeah. Emily Bridges, or one of the cyclists.
Yeah, one of the cyclists said that. For sure.
Just mind-numbing how
and that's
angry
where I'm
I
like,
was.
that
was
is
like,
not like. I mean, I don't know. There are people who will argue with me and be like, "Oh, that's bullshit," but I want to be like, "That's not feminine behavior." You know what I mean? Like, I know there's some downright, like, especially when I was drinking, like, absolute cunt. Like, I'm not feminine at all. I'm not feminine, really, period. But, like,
you are
girls,
girl.
it's extensions.
Own it.
Love you. But, you know, to say something like that, like, it's very rare that, I mean, there's the runner who's quite cocky. I can't think of her name right now. I can't remember what I was doing fucking 5 minutes ago.
The new one, Coco, that just won the.
Is that her?
The title?
I don't fucking remember. But basically my point being that there's not that level of cockiness, you know? And so like when Janae came out and we worked out, we trained chest one day and that shit took us 3 fucking hours. We did 3 exercises. No, not 3 hours, 2 hours. Because she talks. She just talked the whole time.
I'm very chatty.
Yeah. And I'm like, so then I had somebody in after her, Zuby, I think it was.
And Janae is a trans.
Yeah, trans
woman
that, and she too doesn't compete with
based.
women, but it's because she's so big. So she was formerly world's strongest.
I think I've seen her on Twitter, Instagram.
Yeah,
sure.
No hair. Identifies as non-binary or gender fluid because a lot of the things she likes to do, like you know, kayaking, hiking, mountain biking, jujitsu, she can't wear her hair. So like when I picked her up, she's very, you know, male presenting, but still identifies as yeah. So it's cool. Super interesting. And so I had Zuby in and I was, you know, briefly talking about our experience together, and he would refuse to acknowledge Janae's pronouns and would still say he or, and I was just like, no, you don't understand. Like, this is a girl. Like, she took 2 hours to do 3 chest exercises. Trust me. You know what I mean? Like, so I think there are, I get it in my head that there are absolutely people like you who are, and I can't, who's it up to me to say, you're an alcoholic, you're not an alcoholic. You just say you are, you know, or to be like, you're, you know, you're a real trans person and you're, what do you say,
sexual or no? They're arguing now is transgender or transtrender.
Transtrender, that's the word.
I think that's what you were going for. But yeah, there's
you.
transgender, transsexual. That's a whole debate. We don't need to get into that because that's for them.
Oh, is that a whole other thing?
I just did a recent video on my Instagram that a while ago, a famous trans person came out and said, I'm no longer identifying as transgender, I'm transsexual. Blair White.
Blair White, right.
So there's been a big debate, like, what's the difference between transgender and transsexual? I thought, going off of what the word means transgender means I'm just showing this gender. And transsexual would mean I actually changed my sexual body parts to be a different sex. One is attainable and the other is physically not attainable, because there's no such thing, in my opinion, this is only my opinion, a transsexual, I mean, you can call yourself that, but if you really go by the definition, you're not. You can have, you know, the sexual reassignment surgery down below, up top, but you're still a biological man. Even though you have female external parts, it doesn't make you a woman. Does it make you a transsexual?
Canceled.
Yeah.
I need a button or something.
Picture with a line through at me in my face. Yeah. So yeah. But yeah. So when that's funny you bring that point up. I had on the pronouns, wouldn't recognize Janae's pronouns. So when I took my mom to the Icons Women's Conference, which is what Riley Gaines and
right. I remember seeing your posts about that.
Yeah. So I had to warn my mom. There's such a thing as a wolf. I never knew this. Wolf is like a super feminist, even higher grade than a TERF.
No way.
Yeah.
I didn't know this shit either.
The wolf. Yeah. The wolf is, and they were like, Jess, they did 2 Zoom meetings with me before I got there to make sure I was going to be okay with being sat next to a wolf who would specifically call me a man and say, hey guy, do you want this? Or, hey dude, are you okay with this? Like, do you want this for your meeting, your notepad? Like, they are hardcore, will not acknowledge pronouns. And that's fine with me. So I had to sit
I love that about you too. You're just like, fucking whatever.
So I took my mom, because she lives in Denver and I flew there. And so I had to sit her down and go, Mom, there are going to be so many women here this weekend calling me a guy. that you gotta curb your anger, because she would get mad. She would see people call me a dude online, and she would just, I can't believe you called my daughter this. No, mom, it's okay. You know, they're gonna do that. And so
I will come back to your story, but just earmark this. You're the earmark guy. How can we teach more people to take your fucking attitude?
I don't know.
Just being in your energy, it's like calming. Like, just fuck, everybody take a fucking page out of Jessica's book. Holy shit.
I wish, girl. So if we could touch on what I said earlier about before when we were talking, how the audience that I need to reach doesn't follow me anymore because I'm not part of their clan. I'll even call it that.
Right.
So I don't know how we reach these people. I wish I had a one button answer, you know, like that I could say, okay, look, you don't have to do what I'm telling you to do. I'm not trying to tell anybody what to do. I'm just trying to tell people how to be a better human.
Right.
That's all you have to do. Like, people that were wolves at the Denver Icons conference actually were calling me her and she by the end of the weekend. They were like, you're so respectful. I'm going to give you the respect of calling you by a female pronoun. But I never demanded it. I always just introduced myself as Jessica.
I say respect is earned, not given. Like, same
you have
shit,
to remind
right?
people that constantly. It's sad. It's very sad. So yeah, there was a few outliers that still called me a boy. Like, oh, that guy over there, you know, or did he want to sit with that table and talk to Sharon Davies, or I would sit with Riley and Kim Jones has a daughter that was on Leah Thomas's swim team, and that's what got her involved.
That's right. She's the founder.
Yeah, her and Marcy Smith, who lives here in Nevada.
Okay.
I'm not doxing anybody, but they started the Icons, and I spoke with. I had such a great conversation with Kim's daughter. It was so nice to talk to her, and she's just a sweetheart, just a great person. And I wish I could be more friends with her. Like, she wasn't clear across the country, like Riley. You know, I'm really good friends with Riley. She's coming out again in October, November. I don't know. I'm gonna take her out again. So I've taken her out to dinner. I showed her Fremont Street. She was like, her first time on Fremont. She was zombified. Seriously, had no idea what to think. And me and her husband,
just take the wheel.
Yeah, me and her husband just walking behind her, trying to protect her because she was getting looks. Like, she's a hottie. Like, she's pretty. And she was down dressed, like hoodie and jeans, but guys were still like gawking all over her. And her husband's like 6'2", and I'm wearing heels, and I'm like 6'4". So we're like her bodyguards walking behind her, and she's just like a kid in a Disneyland looking at all these street performers. You know how Fremont is, you know, just thousands of people all over. It was great, you know. So, but I love hanging out with my female athlete friends, and even all the girls I ride mountain bike with. And let me be clear too, that when I say women, I mean biological women. When I say girls, biological girls. If I'm going to talk about a trans person, I'll say trans quite a bit.
Got it.
Because trans women are not women. But even my girlfriends who are not trans, that I just said that, but they call each other bro and dude.
Right.
You know, I have Tracy, Amy, Layla. They all just, hey, bro, did you see this? Hey, dude, check this out. And they're talking to each other. They're not even talking to me.
Right.
When they talk to me, they say, hey, Jess.
Yep.
That's all they do. They don't try and I trained them a long time ago not to stress over my pronouns. Like, they were like, what do we call you? What, you know, because I met them here 3 to 4 years ago through Strava, the Facebook for athletes. And, you know, just meeting them through that. And I will say this, as a guy on Strava, you can't just friend a female and expect them to go ride mountain bikes with you. They won't. But as a trans woman, I was able to friend all the girls in Vegas. Not that I am interested in girls. I have a boyfriend.
Yeah.
So, but they accepted me more because I present as one of them, you know, even though I'm not, but they see that I'm warm and kind, and I'm not out for sex, and I'm not looking to get in their pants. So yeah, I got invited to every women's group ride you could think of, and I still get invited to this day, you know, women's races, stuff like that. They're always, hey, Jess, come ride, you know, and it's just fun to be around the girls because I hate saying it too, but it makes me feel like a girl, and I like palling around with my girlfriends.
Yeah.
But they don't. I made a huge point to them: do not try and call me she, her, whatever. They always just say Jess.
Yeah. They
don't even say my full name because it's just, hey, Jess, should we do this? Or Jess, do you want to do this drop? You know, Jess, can you pedal at that so I can see how fast I go? You know, whatever. But when Amy talks to Tracy, she's like, bro, did you see me do that jump? It's so cute to see girls use male pronouns on girls. I love it. It's freaking awesome. I think it's the coolest thing ever.
Bro is probably one of my favorites. So
bro and dude, like, they're all over it. As women, I'm just like, oh, if some of these trans activists were here, they'd be having heart attacks. Like, I can't believe you just called her a dude. Like,
and that's the thing that I can't even like intelligently talk about this subject because it's so mind blowing to me.
It's complicated.
I mean, how it got this out of hand, and I think a big part of it is, I mean, I'm a fucking conspiracy theorist.
Me
like
too.
I always right on. Conspiracy theorist. I always considered myself to be down the middle. I mean, ever since I met you, right? That was 2004.
Yeah.
I mean, Was I back then? Or did, I mean, it got worse.
You
in-
were, I think, back when I first met you, your big conspiracy was the ninth planet or something.
Oh.
You're pretty sure
Planet X, Nibiru.
Nibiru or Planet X was going to be coming out. You were
As long as you didn't say flat earther, I'm
No,
okay
no,
with
no.
that.
Yeah, no.
she's never gone down
Okay,
that.
good.
You can't have a
I
flat
wouldn't be
Earth if
here.
there's a Middle Earth.
Yeah.
Like we got a Middle Earth down there. Like
I wouldn't be
Yeah.
here if you were.
I have my aluminum hat in the car. It's with me at all times.
yeah,
Just-
fuck
I
yeah.
just need the right person to put it on for. Like, let me tell you about this.
Let me tell you something.
Did you know?
Oh my
So
gosh.
yeah, I'm with you on that, and that was not disclosed pre the interview. Let me
Yeah.
make that clear, so nobody thinks we're like teaming up to do this.
No, absolutely not.
Yeah, the world's gone mad. Like, how we fix it, I don't know. And there's so many people on maybe the right that say, you know, it's fixable. We can handle this. We can do it. And I'll be honest with you, as optimistic as I am, I don't see it.
Same.
I don't see any coming back from the way we are right now. I see it getting worse before it gets better, if it ever gets better. But I don't see how it can. It's too much damage.
Yeah.
Too much damage has been done already, and I can't.
Yep.
I would love to be able to say.
I am unfortunately with you on that. I feel like it's definitely going to get worse before it gets better. But yeah, there's definitely
I mean, the girls are winning, though. I will say this, as far as the sports thing goes, we've got 23, maybe even 24 states now signed on that prohibit trans athletes from competing in women's divisions. So that's another one.
from what level would you is that?
College, high school up, actually.
High school
I
up.
think they're leaving the elementary kids out of it.
Which I mean, I can remember playing third, fourth grade basketball in the co-ed.
It's
I
about
mean, the
the
girl,
same.
like
Right.
Denise
It is,
was
but
better than
It
most
is,
of
but it isn't. My argument on that is my daughter was a ladybug, which is a little girl soccer team. So the ladybugs would never come close to the spiders, and they were both age group 7 years old. The boys would run circles around the 7-year-old girls.
Yeah,
So-
there's always just that one or two girls who, right? So
Outliers.
before they get their period or like right before
100%.
that kicks in, that we're whooping all the dudes' asses.
there
And I
is.
know because I talk to, majority of my clients and I'm like, when did this kink stuff start for you? Because I'm really curious about it. So I've got this interesting side hustle I'll have to tell you about later. But I'm like, what started this? And so many of them, it was like, oh, the girl in PE or the track star with the big legs.
Yeah.
There's always that like one or two girls who are just extreme athletes. And then unfortunately, when they get their period, they listen to society and go left and they grow tits. They don't want to keep running, whatever the case is. They become girly and they put sports down. Whereas guys get the opposite message and excel and go
That's
right.
a very good way of putting it.
Yeah. So,
Excellent, yeah.
but your lived experience is like directly with your daughter was the ladybugs would get lapped by the spiders.
Oh yeah, just amazing. And to your point on that too, something you had said that got something me thinking. But yeah, back to the banning of the sports. So we're winning a little bit. 23 states banned it from high school up, for sure. I know that. I don't know about elementary, but yeah, as far as what I was getting at is that I didn't say banned. I don't use the word banned because I don't want it to come across. I shouldn't even say it now. But notice I said prohibited, or just we don't allow trans identifying males to compete in the women's division. It's not a ban on transgender competing in sports. It's not a ban.
Right.
And that's the key word they're using. They're like, trans women are like Emily Bridges. We're banned from cycling. No, you're not banned from cycling. UCI cycling said biological sex matters, and USA cycling has not got on board yet. They're still allowing the males to compete, and that's frustrating. But we are winning a little bit. Not we. I shouldn't say that. I take
Bitch,
that back.
I don't know. Like,
Girls,
listen,
I take that back.
when I don't know. I feel like just
Well-
your energy, your presence. I mean, I get that, right? Like, I feel that, and because it's your energy is not demanding, and you're not like you don't expect us to stop talking about periods because it's not inclusive. Like, what?
I've not heard that one. That's
Yeah,
pretty amazing.
I had an employee
Holy
who was
moly.
like, "Yeah, I went out to this, queer club, and it was all unisex bathrooms, and I
Ugh.
started my period, and I asked if anybody had a tampon, and she was like, anybody got a tampon?" And some trans girl was pounding on the door of her stall and was like, "Fuck you, bitch! We don't have get periods, and you're that's so self-centered." Was just going off on her, and she's like, "But yeah, if I was a guy, and I was like, anybody got a condom?" And here, nobody would fucking bat an eyelash. Like, no trans
Really?
man is gonna say, "Fuck you," don't think we all have dicks, and like that's not
so
inclusive. You know what I mean? Like, there's
Wow.
this female energy that you have, and like I
Oh,
watched
thank
this
you.
stuff. This is where I went on Twitter and I went down the rabbit hole, and it was I fell on my head hard. Was getting on there and seeing white trans women basically patronizing me and saying like, oh, well, not me obviously personally, but
Women.
society and
Yeah.
women in general.
Mhm.
Like, you're not the gatekeepers of femininity or
Ah.
womanhood or all these things. And I'm like, great. So as a fucking young person, I mean, I got bullied severely for having hairy arms. I was named Sasquatch. And shit used to bug me so bad. As soon as I got my hands on a razor, I went straight. I still shave my arms to this fucking day, right?
Yeah.
These trans women, and I'm like, I almost just said bro. Like you're talking about
Bro,
earlier.
you
I
should
say
say
it all
bro,
the time,
yeah.
bro. We
Girls
don't
say
act
it.
like that.
It's okay to say it, and I try
Yeah,
and tell
like-
these TRAs, these trans activists,
Yeah.
that girls use bro all the time.
Right.
And if you're around the right crew, now I grew up watching my sister play softball and powder puff football. So I grew up watching lesbians. I didn't know it at the time when I was a 14-year-old. My sister was older. She was 18. She had a girls softball team, and we all know the stereotype
Right.
around women playing softball. They're typically lesbians. They have thick thighs, and it's a thing. I don't know. I'm not stereotyping it. I'm just telling you what I saw.
Yeah.
But so yeah, growing up around tomboys, I will say that.
Yeah.
Girls carried switchblades, and they had the thin mustache and the hairy arms, and there were as Italian girls on my sister's softball team. So yeah, it's like, who's to say what's right and what's wrong? Like, but in the end, I can't. Like, I would have loved to be there if that's trans person in the bathroom stall banging on the door. Like, I would pull that person out by their head and throw them out on the street for talking to a woman like that. Like, no way. Not on my watch. And I've said that to other people at other times. Like, you're not doing this on not when I'm on this earth. Like, it's not happening. And
Wow.
just the same with the bathroom issue with my daughter, and people who are trans that don't have kids, or for whatever reason, because they started younger than I did, and they're like, there's no reason I shouldn't be in the women's room. Well, there didn't used to be a problem with me being in the women's room.
Right.
But now there is. Like,
Right.
I literally used to have my girlfriends drag me in the women's room. Drag me. Like, I'd be like, no, let's go. I'll go. Pulling my arm, like, no, girl, you're one of us. You come here. You don't belong over there. And I'm like, but I kind of do. I always felt awkward in the women's room. But it was only if I was with my group of friends and they would pull me in with them. And I'm like, I don't want to be in here. It's kind of awkward. I don't feel good. I've never laid a finger on a woman. My entire 49 years of my life. My ex hit me in the head with a VHS tape. If anybody's old enough to remember that, like, threw it from across the room, almost knocked me unconscious, like hit me square in the forehead. I just got up and was like, I can't believe you did that. And she had this look of fear in her eyes, like she was like, I am so dead. And I was like, I didn't touch her. I was like, that was crazy. Like, he just got me like that. So, I just, there's no violence in me, but still, these activists, they get me thinking violent thoughts.
Right.
And I hate that. I hate them for that, for
Yeah.
putting me in that dark space.
Yeah.
With the whole bathroom thing. And it's like I said, I'm not on my watch, is that, like, if I saw a trans identifying male, which is what most of the TERFs call us, a TIM, trans identifying man, which is me, a trans woman. But they call us trans identifying man because they don't want to give us,
God.
they don't want to give
what
us,
the fuck?
they don't want to give us the courtesy of calling us a trans woman. They've gone beyond that. The TERFs want, it's trans identifying man. That's what we are. And so be it, whatever. They want to call me a TIM, a TIM, it's fine. But so if a TIM starts following my daughter into a women's room, and I can clearly see he's only doing it for his own personal satisfaction, I'm dragging that guy out of there. Like, see, and I just called him a guy. Like, it's okay.
Right.
But that starts that whole nuanced argument of, is self-ID genuine? Is it valid? Like, I don't know. I don't want to get,
right?
I don't want to go down that route.
Yeah,
Like, who's valid trans, who's not? I mean, people categorize me as real trans. I get messages all the time. People say, oh, you're the real deal, in that sense. A younger trans person who transitioned younger than me that passes, because I don't pass, will say, you're not trans, you don't pass. It's like, well, now you're gatekeeping who passes, So there's so much nuance, girl. It's just, my focus right now is on women's sports, women's safety, prisons, single-sex spaces, rape shelters.
You're right. The rape shelter's the big one.
Women's locker rooms, bathrooms, rape shelters, prisons, and sports. Sports most importantly, but I've been in an argument this morning on Twitter about the prison thing. Whether and these are women, I believe, women arguing with me. About,
right, it's always women. It's
saying
so
it's okay. I'm like,
like,
no. I go, and my only giveaway on that, like, give and take, right?
Yeah.
So my only give up on the prison thing is if they've had SRS, sexual reassignment surgery, or GRS, gender reassignment surgery.
Yeah.
If they've had that, they're pretty much not going to sexually assault a woman in prison. It's almost physically impossible. It is physically impossible. They can use their hands, right? It's gross, but so they're safe. Like, we could probably let that person into a women's prison. They have no genitalia to damage a woman with, so I'm okay with that. But at the end of the day, if we let that person in, we got to let the other one in who's only taking hormones. And when you take the hormones that I'm on, your junk doesn't work very well. It still works, but not very well. But it could still do some harm. So they're out. You are discluded. You broke the law. You deal with it.
right.
Like, either, I'm going to get raped in prison as on the boys' side. Well, so what? Maybe you shouldn't have robbed maybe you shouldn't have got your third DUI. Maybe you shouldn't have robbed that liquor store. Whatever they did, if they're, proven guilty and that's their sentencing, you got to deal with it. Like, stop taking your hormones, be a man, toughen up for a couple years until you get out of prison and go back to your old life. Like, do it that way. I don't care. But
Because it's like the trade-off, right? Where you're like, once again, we're expecting all women to sacrifice their safety for the 1%,
Yeah,
or less than
yeah,
1%,
yeah.
or
it's
whatever.
probably, well, it's grown now with the self ID thing. The 1% has turned into probably almost 1.5, maybe, I don't know. But
Right.
yeah, we used to be 0.1% of the population. Now we're 1% of the population, or 1% of the population. So, but yeah, you can't put somebody's feelings over women's safety. It's bananas. Like, it's insane to me. I'm just like, really?
It's bananas.
It is bananas. I'm just like, how do you guys even think like this? Like, why? Why would this even come across your peanut brain? Apparently, because I'm arguing with you about this point. So you must be a peanut brain. But yeah, I don't.
To cause chaos and confusion and division.
Yeah, I mean, I'm all about causing hate and discontent, but when it comes to women's safety, like I said, having a daughter has changed everything. And I grew up in a house of women, raised by my grandma and my mom. My dad wasn't in my life till I was almost maybe 8 years old.
Yeah.
I didn't even know who my dad was. I was a product of a one-night stand, more so to speak. And my dad didn't want anything to do with me until I was going to be adopted by my mom's new husband. And we had to get my biological father to sign off on it. And then we reached out to him, and he was like, "Oh, I'll be his dad. I'll be his dad now. I don't want him getting adopted by somebody else." And so my mom's like, "Well, great. Then you can pay child support now."
Right.
Like, dang it. It's like, you should have kept my mouth shut.
Have people ever asked you if you thought that was, your life choices and path as a result from your dad
growing upbringing? No, I don't think so. But like I said, I was raised around a lot of estrogen. And then once I did develop the nuclear family, it was just me, my wife, and my daughter. So it was just me and two other girls, and that's what I grew up around. But still, I had the masculine traits. I'd still like to go play in the mud and do stuff with trucks and bikes and work on cars and stuff like that. So this is all good. But I don't blame my upbringing like a lot of these other people might use as like an excuse. Like, an excuse is just how I feel. So
that's so interesting, as you said. You still have the masculine traits, and because I grew up, I'm very much a tomboy, but I have no thought in my head. I think I put like #gender fluid back in 2017 when I was like, yeah, when this shit was first coming about, I'm like, yeah, I'm gender fluid. But no, I don't, not 1% of me identifies as that. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
No.
So
Knowing you, I think you do like to do things that would be deemed masculine.
Oh yeah, I'm totally fucking masculine.
Right?
Yeah,
I love it.
tomboy.
Right.
Yeah,
Tomboy.
I love it. All my
Right.
girlfriends. There's a few. I have a few girly girl women friends, but most of them are tomboys.
Yeah.
That's why they're drawn to me.
Yeah.
It's a motorcycle.
It's easy math.
Yeah.
It's totally easy math. Like all the tomboys that I hang out with, they are drawn to me because they kind of like the boy sports and the boy attitude. But when it comes down to the end of the day, well, except for maybe a few of them, they don't. They'll go home, put makeup on, go to dinner with their husband, and wear a nice dress and some heels. But during the day, they're just like me. They're like dirt on their face, like skinned up knee. Like they're like, this is all good. Like, this is what we want to do.
And I absolutely relate with that, and that's why I'm like, and I start to question myself, and I'm like, oh, maybe the activists have a point, and this binary of gender is trash, and maybe I'm going to be that person in 30 years that grew up thinking blacks and whites should be segregated, and then you look back at history and you're like, oh my god, like, were my beliefs that fucked up that, like, I don't know how anybody still lives in that paradigm of being racist, but you think like there are still some people who do, and you're like, and then you think about those who crossed over, or like cut their parents off, and they're like, oh my god, I can't believe I grew up thinking that, or what I mean. So I've stopped and asked myself, or I'm like, am I going to be that person 30-40 years from now that's like, I can't believe I was so death gripping onto no, it's man and woman, and like, what am I trying to protect? And I'm like, well, it's just intuitively something inside of me is like, you look at Native American culture, like they've got male, female, and when like Sundance is happening, they have traditional roles like only the females can do and only the males can do. And then you've got your two-spirited people, and they're regarded and revered because they've got both experiences, but it's not like a fucking trend, or do you know what I mean? It's not a topic of conversation. It's just something that naturally happens. And I think like I guess my point is that it's really good to hear from lived experiences once again, and not speculate and think like, oh, I mean, it's good to pause and think, because I'm like, well, is this part of like the political programming and them doing their best to divide us,
Yeah.
or is this part of
And I
some
think
evolution?
you
Might
have
be
a
some of
unique
it.
perspective, I think, too. Like,
Yeah,
especially
you bring
with
a lot to the table.
well, especially with your childhood, like knowing you, and I mean, like you said, growing up tomboy, but I mean, you grew up very tomboy. Like you were, not wearing a shirt as a little kid, like
Grow
Oh,
up
yeah.
hard, grow up hard,
like
grow
you know what I mean.
fast, but
Yeah.
yeah.
If you grew up in today's California school system,
That's
would you
exactly
be
right.
more-
That's exactly
would
right,
you
dog.
be
Would
more
I be?
influenced?
you would be influenced
That's-
to be a dude.
I wonder that. I wonder
100%.
that.
They would-
I
they would-
wonder that.
They would
Because I literally-
in a New York second.
Right. That's where the this is the
And
this is
I'm
the
not saying-
argument.
They would
This
say,
is
girl,
it.
you are a boy. You're just living
Yes,
the lie. You need
yes.
to live your truth. That's what they would say. You're living the lie now. You need to live your truth and be a boy. Shave your head, cut your breasts off. That's one.
No, and I'm not
Yeah.
saying that they
That's
should
what
be
I'm
telling
talking
you
about.
that it's
Yeah.
like, growing up in like the Catholic Christian schools.
Mhm.
I'm not saying that, school systems should take that approach where, they're going to
It's
tell
like,
that kid like, oh, you're going to
you
burn
don't
in
have
hell
sex.
for even
Yeah.
having that
Don't have
thought.
sex till you're married.
Right.
blah, blah,
Like,
blah.
and if you even thought, like, brought up the idea that I question my, but I kind of feel like a girl, no, you don't. You're a boy. You're going to go to
Yeah,
hell if
exactly.
you think that. I think there needs to be probably somewhere in the middle of,
There's some nuance to it. and-
where there can be support. I don't think there's a problem with support. I just, like some of the stuff I'm hearing where it's like schools questioning whether or not to tell parents everything. And
Mhm.
I like
mean,
that bill in California that actually got passed. It's what if you don't affirm your child's gender
It's child
at
abuse.
the age of 7 or above, they can take your child out of your custody.
Child protective
that's-
services.
that-
yeah.
See, that's where I'm
That's
starting.
freaking scary,
that,
right?
That's where it's like, okay,
Hold the phone.
Yeah, to jump back
Right.
to your thing earlier about the language thing that you said, something about how the Native American cultures
Uh-huh.
bring into it's either male or female headdresses, and then that's the way it should be. And I agree with that. And even what I try and explain to these people when they start getting onto the pronoun train, about it's she, her, or he, him, it's like they're mixing all of our words in English. But if you go back to the Latin culture, like Spain, Rome, like all language is gender specific except for English.
That's right. Somebody was
Hermana,
telling me-
hermano.
Yeah.
In Spanish, everything it's a female has a different name for it. Like it's about spelled the same, but it either ends in an A or an O. And that gender specific wording is huge. Like, why can't we stay with that? There's nothing wrong with that, chica, chico, like
Yeah.
the whole thing is it's so
Yeah.
frustrating.
Shout out to Merv. I guess in Scotland, the rain is like basically called female, or I forget what he said. But he's like, how do you get around that? Like our language is gender specific.
It is
I'm
gender
like,
specific,
yeah.
and that's what I try and tell these people that are bending all these words about transphobia and you're a bigot if you don't believe that I can be a she her. It's like, well, you're not, and you can't use that word because it's designated for a female. Like that's a female word. Leave it alone.
God, even you saying that, I'm like, oh yeah.
Yeah, the language of the Latin is all gender specific. It's just the way it is. It's the way it's always been. Why do we have to mess with it? Like I don't know.
If it ain't broke, don't fix
I
it.
guess maybe I don't know.
It only worked for a couple thousand years.
Yeah, it's only been around for the land of time. Like it's,
Gosh, is there
So-
anything else that we've already? This has been like one of the fastest hours
oh my gosh,
podcast.
an hour up already.
Yeah,
Sorry.
sometimes
I
no,
talk
we
too
can
much,
go.
yeah.
No,
It's easy to go hour and a half, 2 hours,
For
and you're
sure,
just like,
for
I don't know. I'm so ADD, I can like stand for 20 minutes on shit. But
One thing I could have touched on, you kind of asked about it earlier. There's we talked about it earlier, Blair White. She because of my lived experience, growing up in a nuclear family, raising a child with a wife. Blair White came out a while ago, and I don't mean to call her out. I'm not trying to get fame off this, but she doesn't like trans people like me. She despises me, actually.
why?
Because her opinion is anybody who transitions after they're married and abandons a daughter and a wife is scum of the earth. Like maybe not using her exact words, but
Yeah.
she said some pretty harsh shit about trans people like me who
And-
transitioned later in life. And
You
they're
don't
not
have your
okay.
panties in a twist.
And my argument to it is that I was in a loveless marriage. Is
Right.
it okay for me? I waited till my daughter was old enough, like 13, 14 years old. And who knows if that is old enough? Maybe it's not. But either way, I still took care of her till she was 19, paid child support, got her car, all this stuff. But why would I stay in a loveless marriage and lie to a woman and tell her, yeah, I love you, and but never kiss her, never have sex with her?
Right.
Like, why? That's
And yet
mean to her.
it's just to still support the daughter, and that's exactly what you did.
Yeah, and
So why else would you stay in that relationship?
Why should I? Like, I thought it was mean to her. Like, I wanted her to go find a man who was willing to take care of her and be her champion, be her knight in armor, and she couldn't see it that way either. I was like, don't you want to be with somebody who loves you? And she was like, no, I want to be with you because you're the father of this child. And I was like, but I'm not in love with you. I still love you, but I fell out of love. And so to Blair White, that trans person is an asshole. Like literally. And I get it. There is a lot of narcissism in what I did. I will not deny that. 100%. It is a narcissistic move to transition later in life because you're only thinking about yourself. Like, should I do this? Should I not? It's my decision and I chose it. And people will say, oh no, your egg cracked late. That's a new thing. When you crack an egg, like there's a trans person's been in an eggshell all their life and the eggshell doesn't crack and they don't turn trans until they're 28, or their egg cracked at 15, or their egg cracked at 39. It's a new thing. It's stupid. So they'll argue that with me and I'm like, no, I just fell out of love, but it's wrong for me to stay in a relationship for all the wrong reasons. You know, they say that don't keep the marriage together for the kids because you're just making it worse. Kids know.
100%. 100%.
Kids know when their parents hate each other.
100%.
They can fucking see it.
100%.
And I didn't hate her, but you know, I wanted my ex-wife to have a chance at a good, meaningful relationship with a man before she got too old, before she was unattractive. You know, they reach that point where they just get so down on themselves that they don't want to try and even date anymore. Like, fucking put on 17 pounds and just start drinking, smoking. Like, don't care what I look like. Forget to do their hair. Don't wax their eyebrows, stuff like that. So all those things that are part of being a feminine woman, you know, I respect that, you know. So
that's really interesting, like to think of that perspective. And you're absolutely right. Like, why the fuck would you stay in that relationship,
right,
other than to support the kid? But it's the same argument, and I tell people all the time, I'm like, don't stay in a relationship for the kid's sake if you can't fucking be civil with each other.
And we were not civil, but for sure there was no love. Like, it was a roommate situation.
Or, yeah, exactly.
100% my roommate. That's all she was.
And you're coming from a place of like absolute compassion and wanting her to find a champion, as you said.
Yeah.
And like not.
I wanted her to have that dude, that 6 foot tall, knight in shining armor that would protect her, lay down his life. You know, all that. That's important to me. So I wish I could find a guy like that. But unfortunately, I'm taller than most of the guys I meet, so I think I would be their protector, right? Like, wow, you have big shoulders. I'm like, I know, and check out these man hands.
I love it.
Aren't they?
Magic hands.
The man hands. So, which need a manicure too.
Same
Oh
girl.
So
we're gonna have to do that when I get back from California. We'll go get a manicure.
Yeah, I'm going to California on a Saturday, so I'll be back.
I'm going Friday. When do you come back?
I'm going to. I'll just be there one day.
I was gonna say this will already be out by the time we're coming back, so it's fine.
Saturday night, and then I'll come home. But yeah, it's trans conservative debate versus trans liberals. How fun's that gonna be?
Wow, is that where you're going?
Mm-hmm. They found me on Instagram, I think, and they said, we want you on as a trans conservative, and I was like, okay. They're like, you're fun, you seem energetic, and you seem to have good points. And I was like, okay, but I tend to get a little heated when people I don't agree with are in the same room as me. So I'm nervous that I'm not going to do well, and that I'm not going to come off good on camera, that I'm a good person, because these issues that we've all discussed this whole hour is just, those are ones that drive me crazy.
You did great today. This was like good practice for you.
Well, and I think that type of, I think there needs to be more and more of that, because so much of the conversations are happening in echo chambers, where it's just the trans conservatives talking to the trans conservatives, and just the trans liberals talking to the trans liberals.
Exactly.
So until we constantly putting more and more together, it's the only thing that can help. It's the only.
And that's the thing. It's called middle ground, and they want us to find a middle ground between the liberals and the conservatives. And that's my biggest issue, is like echo chamber. I didn't even think of that word. That's great that you brought that up, because I'm just talking to all the people who agree with me now. Like all my followers on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, they're all on my side. The only way I can get some interaction is if I bug in on somebody's tweet that I probably shouldn't, but they'll make a comment like, that's, you know, and I'll start some crap, you know, I'll cause some hate, you know. I need to get that conversation started to try and change a mind or two. Like, I know it's not my job, but when it comes to sports, I feel like it is my job. Yeah. I come from a sports background. I have athletes. I've been an athlete all my life, and I think I have the right to speak on it because of my lived experience. Yeah, right? 100%. And I just... the male athlete competing in the women's sports is just beyond me. Like, and I get tired of all the science numbers, the outliers. They'll talk about you, like you're a woman outlier, right? Like, I can't say much, right? And whip his ass. I do BJJ with guys twice my size and more experience, and I can run with any of these fuckers. I'm sure. So then I'm like, I don't know if I really have a leg to stand on here, even though, you know, I know there's certain exceptions.
But I feel like that's the conversation, right? Like, you're considered an outlier, right? Because you're a female that can go into a male sport and compete. Right. So you're an outlier. Right. But if it were males going into female sports, it wouldn't be considered outliers because there'd be so many of them. Well, and right. I mean, it wouldn't be the one in the 100, 1 in 1,000. It would be heated 90 out of 100 would be able to dominate. One of the most heated Twitter debates I ever got into was with a female MMA fighter who swore up and down she competes with boys all the time. And I said, I know. I used to train kickboxing. I trained with women all the time. 2 of the women I trained with made it to the Ultimate Fighter in the UFC. But there's a thing in the gym
when it's kickboxing, jiu-jitsu might be different, but for me, kickboxing, we always let up a little bit on the women. Like we never went 100%. Like if I did, my boxing coach would whoop me, right? He just slaughtered me. But the girls want you to give them all you got because they want to know that they're tougher than the next girl. And the only way they're going to do that is if the guy raises their level, right? So where's that line? Where do I draw that line? And getting the girl, you know, trained and ready, but yet I'm not going to try and hurt her. But this girl on Twitter, anyway, she wanted to advocate. She's like, I'll fight any trans woman. She's like, I'm not afraid of any man. I fight men in the gym all the time. I'm like, well, you're not fighting the right ones. Because the killers in my gym would take you out with a pinky, like literally a jab. You would be on the floor. She's like, you don't know me. I'm like, girl, I've trained with pro fighters, professional male and female fighters that literally knock you out with a single punch. And Jake Shields is a famous MMA fighter.
Yeah.
You probably heard of him. He threw down that offer, and one of the trans men almost took him up on it.
Oh, no shit.
Yeah, he's like, I will pay $100,000 any trans man right now. I'm coming off the couch. I haven't trained in almost a year. I will MMA, jiu-jitsu, whatever you want. I will whip your ass 100%. The stronger you can be on as much steroids as you want. This is a woman transitioning to a man. Nobody would take it. One person did, and then they backed out. Because we know a male is going to see, and this is where it gets my misogynistic bone, and I don't want to do this, but we know the man is going to win when it comes to contact sports with muscle memory, trained muscles that have been trained to do jiu-jitsu all of their life. You know, like when you go for a Darce or a rear naked, it's like natural. You don't even try. It's that involuntary muscle. That's what I saw. The involuntary muscles are the ones that make you breathe, your heartbeat. So that motion, whatever it is that you bring in to capture that hold, that's involuntary to you.
Right.
And so me taking testosterone doesn't remove my involuntary muscles that are trained to do this one specific task as most efficiently as possible all my life. And then I take estrogen and all of a sudden I'm supposed to be not as good. Bullshit. You know, so that's where I stand on the female sports thing. That is the top of my list.
That's so good. Do you have any questions that we didn't think of, or like
most of them?
It's good, right?
Girl, I'm sorry. I can talk.
No, don't you dare say sorry.
I just got reported on Uber in my full-time job for talking too much.
You're kidding me.
I got a 3-star review on my blog for talking too much.
That's what I'm saying. You're the real deal.
Oh my gosh, yeah. And people are like, "That's a thing." I'm like, apparently.
Oh my
that's
gosh.
the thing that bothers them. But like, the driver was talking too much.
That's
now, if I was
hysterical.
like turning my head around, going like, "Yeah, you should be running."
Right.
Like, okay, I get it. But I talk to people. I look straight ahead all the time.
Somebody was having a case of the Mondays.
Yeah, bad day, right? Total Monday. Yeah. So yeah, I was the recipient of that award, talking too much. So yeah, and reported for it.
Damn.
Yup.
Damn.
It's a critical world out there.
Fuck.
For sure.
I know I'm about to get canceled, but it's fine. Fuck it. No, I just,
You got my support.
thank you. Same. Like, it's just, I love your attitude. I love your approach to shit. Like, you're just so fucking pleasant, and that makes like I said, respect isn't given, it's earned, and it's like you earn that within like 5 seconds. So I'm excited for you and growing your platform and sharing your experience and going out there and getting your fucking lived experience out
and talking.
I would love to do a platform with you 100%.
Because you're an actual athlete. Because I think so many times.
Oh, ain't that some shit? You got a fucking somebody leading the Senate that's like, yeah, this bill, and it's like, have you ever played a day of sport in your life?
That's my thing. So many people having this conversation don't participate in sports. I even have friends who are like, oh, it's ridiculous that you're against, and I'm not even necessarily against all of it. I'm like more sports by sport even. We can have conversations at age levels, but they're adamant that it's like it should be a no-brainer. But I'm also like, you're also the person that got a note to not participate in PE in high school.
Trophy
you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like, so how do you know anything about what's fair in competitive sports?
That generation drives me crazy.
You're having an impact that you've never like if you haven't participated in competitive sports, and if you haven't, especially like females that haven't participated in a competitive sport, it's like it's so difficult, especially at a young age, to even get the training that the men get, that the coaching, the facilities.
Yeah, there's
what I mean.
Two things I bring to argument too, to not bring out that misogynistic part too, is and I brought this up at the Denver Icons meeting, and one of the bigger advocates, I think Nancy Hodgehag, I don't know if you've seen her on Twitter too, but I said, take a look at this, and 3 people listen to me tell her this. Watch this. You go watch the X Games men's skateboard final. You watch the female skateboard final. You tell me there's no difference. And skateboarding is a matter of skill level. And here's what I don't like bringing that argument to bear, is because it's misogynistic. It's saying that women aren't equal to men on skills and athletic ability. And I don't like bringing that argument forward, but sometimes these TRAs, they push me to the limit. And I'm like, okay, just like my ladybugs and the spiders, like the ladybugs got killed, and it's marginal if it's not at elite sports or college level, but still it's there. It's always there. It's prevalent. I can see it in my mountain biking. The men's downhill, those guys are bananas fast. And all that takes is just courage, just to let off the brakes. That's all you gotta do. Skill, it takes minimal strength for a man to go downhill and a woman to go down a hill. But it's who's braver, who's gonna keep their hands off the brakes the longest to get the highest, the quickest time. And it's not even close. The men, the women, the times, it's fucking crazy.
No shit.
Yeah. And all you have to do is be brave. And women just don't have that. I mean, some do, they're outliers.
Right.
I would
They
not
live
confront
outliers.
you in an alley. I would be scared for my life, whether I was as a man or a girl. I would,
Best compliment ever.
I would not be wanting that business at all. I would be backing myself out of that corner as fast as possible. And rightfully so. But it's like you said, you earned this. You've worked your ass off.
Thank
You've paid your dues. You've done the time on the dark side and you've come through it. It makes you a better person. You're an amazing, inspiration.
Thank you.
Like,
Fuck.
Like, wow.
Fuck.
I would kill to be half of what you are as a woman,
Oh my God.
It's like,
thank you.
you're thinking of others. I've watched your other podcasts and the clips you post. It's like you're generous and kind and you want to help the fellow human being.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm looking for too, is to help women more because I care about women. I'm not one I wish I was, but I'm gonna do whatever I can to protect them till the day I die. It's important to me.
I've got so many notes here for like opportunities for reels. I'm like, gosh, there's so much content
good.
coming out of your mouth. So, hey,
Yeah, I got a lot. So we'll see how my Saturday one goes. As long as I can keep my cool and not get kicked off the show for being belligerent,
we would love to know, and I would love to go. I don't know.
I'll send you the link when I get it.
Yeah.
Once they edit it, they just did the one with with gay liberals versus gay men conservatives versus gay liberal conservatives.
Yeah.
The trans issue came up, and there was a gay liberal on there. A guy was just like, and I talked to the people that do the editing for the videos, and they were like, yeah, he was the problem. Like he was the biggest pain in the ass we've ever had. It was like, yeah, it was bad.
Damn.
He was advocating for my rights, for my behalf. But I was like, I don't want your help. Please
shut
the
the fuck
away. Yeah,
Oh my
you are not
gosh.
helping my community at fucking all. You were just causing more hate, more animosity towards the trans community by society in general.
Right.
And I hate to point to you.
No.
You're a general society person.
100%.
It's you're not an outlier as far as trans and cis. Oh, I hate saying that word. Cis. Oh my god. So I told my mom too not to use that word cis, and she was like, no. She's like, I've been working so hard to use that.
Right. That's how I feel.
I'm like, when we get to Denver, don't say the word cis, and they'll kick you out of there so quick. And but yeah, it's been an experience. So I really
I
appreciate
can't
it.
imagine, and that's the other thing too. I can end on this, but it's not like you chose this path back when it was like I don't know. It's like you chose this like 8 years ago when this would have been a really difficult decision in comparison to today's society.
Yeah,
And how much has changed.
like you said earlier, no brainer.
Yeah.
Or whatever. But yeah, it's been a journey.
And why the fuck people aren't listening to you, who has who's like a veteran?
Yeah, they call they call me a gatekeeper.
Oh.
So I'm not allowed to gatekeep the younger kids coming up. Like their ideas are the right ones, and I don't know what I'm talking about.
Don't ask fucking questions.
Yeah.
Sit there.
Well,
and be quiet.
when I was a teenager, I didn't listen to my parents in high school. I thought they were stupid. So, I don't expect the teens today to think I'm not stupid either. So
Fair enough. Fair enough.
they'll learn eventually, I
Right.
guess. But we got to protect what we got.
Yeah.
So we got to save these women's sports spaces, prisons, the rape shelters. Like that's a big one for the J.K. Rowling's issue.
Right.
The rape shelters was what got her in hot water with all the whole thing. She was just saying, look, these women need to come into these battered shelters with only women in them. And you people are letting trans women in, and it's not right. And they're like, well, we're women too. It's like, no, you're not.
Like, I mean, you literally.
Sorry, I know we gotta go, but
No, I mean, it's somebody who's you literally possess the weapon that assaulted them.
yeah,
Right. Like,
yes,
I mean,
100%.
that's where it's like.
Yes.
That's what blew me away about the swimming Riley Gaines thing. I didn't realize, like, you turn around. I mean, I can't imagine, like, as a male, like being in a woman's locker room nude. Like it would
scary,
be
right? For me,
I would
it'd
be like,
scary.
I would be like, that's like one of
Yeah.
the more offensive, probably the most offensive thing I could think of
about
doing.
Yeah, 100%.
Right.
I'm
Like
with you right there.
as a
Yeah.
male, as a straight guy, a guy who, like to be so I mean, I just don't know why, just because somebody identifies differently, that it would be any less offensive
That's a good point.
Yeah.
That's
my
good
constant
that's
is
my level.
my constant that I throw out on Twitter is being transgender is not a hall pass. It doesn't get you anything you want. Like, it still has sacrifices.
Right.
You have to sacrifice. You have to give up your sports, okay? So you don't compete as well you do with the men. I got third last year on a race. You know, this is the best I'll ever do. I got this weekend, I got eighth. You know, out of a field of only like 14. That's at the bottom rung. But I don't care. It was fine. I was there. I was having fun. And Nicole's like, see, you would have raced with me. You would have got second. I was like, girl, like, it's not fair. You know I'm not doing that. So
Oh my god.
but yeah, save women's sports. You know, Riley's a sweetheart. I love that girl to death. She's so nice. And
I'd love to meet her.
I
We should
watched
get you
her.
both on here.
Oh, that would be so cool, right?
Yeah.
She might be out in October. I'll see if she can do it.
Yeah.
She went from struggling with trying to address Leah by Leah and now she's just like him, he, him, guy, male. I'm like, yeah, girl, go. Like, she's like, what should I do? She's asking me, it's like, should I call him her, or he, or they? I go, use his name. That's all I do. All my friends use my name. Just call me Jessica.
Yeah.
Like, I don't need an identifying pronoun.
Yeah.
Just,
We should, damn, we gotta get you back
People should
on.
do that probably more in general, anyways.
yeah.
Get
I'd
to know
love to
people
come back
around
on.
you, right?
Mhm.
Meet people. Don't be afraid to use their name.
Yeah.
Valid.
That's it.
We should get you, Riley, and Janae on an episode.
That'd be cool.
That'd be because you're both so sweet,
Yeah, that
You
is
would-
super nice.
and you would debate like human beings.
Mhm.
You know, get your fiery ass in here.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Or if
you're
you
good
could,
at.
if you could swing, I could probably get a liberal to come on here and argue with me. But some of the ones that live here probably don't want to talk to me. They probably just punch me in the face, I guess.
Oh
maybe.
no! If I can get a foot up the ass,
I'm
You're
like,
on-
bring it.
you're on our team now. So,
Yeah.
well, not that we're dividing people, but like when you meet somebody and you connect, you know, it's like, yeah, I would punch somebody in the throat for you.
Yeah.
To go both
Yeah.
ways.
Like my favorite song, the
So
21.
you're gonna punch somebody in the throat
21
for me, right?
I would. I was just about to say, like the 21 Pilots say, go, everybody that has someone they would take a bullet for. I would take a bullet for you.
Damn.
Yeah.
I'd take one in the leg.
Yeah. Take a leg shot. No, I take a body shot, girl.
You're like, I worked on these apps.
I'd take one in the calf.
One of the
Save
downsides
the
of
clock.
having gender dysphoria is depression and suicide, and I'm not afraid to die. So, and I hate saying that because I don't want this whole, do you want a living daughter or a dead son? You know, that's
Right.
bullshit. Like, I don't buy that. But yeah, it's
What's the difference of having an alcoholic addict child
Yeah.
versus you know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like all kids can be at risk.
And the
But
number one key is probably
just
communication.
the fact that you're a woman just solidifies it for me. I don't deserve to live if you're not going to. You know what I'm saying? Like, I would trade my life for yours on merit alone, but because you're a great person and I know you obviously, but I just think women deserve better in general. Like, all women deserve better. Like, why not? It's always been women and children first. You know, it's always been that. Why not still now?
So fascinating. Your experience is so incredible, literally. Thank you so much for coming
Yeah, it
in
was
and
great.
taking the
It was
time.
so
Like
much fun.
we've been texting for a long time, but now I'm like,
It happened.
now
I
we're
know.
connected. We're just gonna go take you to get some clothes. And thank you for joining us, Red Beard. So you always think of shit that's just
It was
completely
really nice to
outside my
meet you,
realm.
yeah.
Yeah, you did great. So thanks for listening, everybody. Again, we are here to have conversations to encourage people to start thinking outside of the box and question everything around you. And at the end of the day, still do our best to stay united and fight the system because they're coming for our fucking freedom.
They are.
Thanks for watching, you guys. If you're still here, I really appreciate it. And I want to say also on that video, I forgot how much I dove into my personal history. So that is another video I was going to make, not the one that's going to explain later on why I've been gone for so long. But yeah, I don't share that with a lot of people. And I actually forgot that I said that on that podcast. So I hope that helps anybody with anything they're struggling with, or if you guys have any issues or questions, leave a comment down below. I'd be happy to talk with you about anything, obviously, especially protecting women's sports and spaces. We've got some good news coming on the horizon. It's officially November 3rd, so we got 2 days till the election, and Trump has promised in his cabinet of people that we are voting for, not just voting for Trump, we're voting for Tulsi Gabbard and Robert Kennedy Jr., Elon Musk, people like that are going to surround him, and it's going to be a better 4 years than it was before. So, sorry, Mom, I know you hate that, but that's what I'm hoping for. So, I appreciate you guys, and have a good one.